If you need to leave, just ask. Welcome back to Grant's Pilot Advice. If you're based at an uncontrolled airport, departing under visual flight rules is easy. Just announce your intentions on the Common Traffic Advisory frequency and leave. When control towers get involved, things get a little more complicated. In this video, I hope to clarify the procedures for departing a controlled airport under VFR. I've got some background info to cover, and then I'll explain the procedures for departing a Class Delta, Class Charlie, and Class Bravo airport. This video does not cover IFR departures. That's a slightly different procedure. My private pilot training was at an uncontrolled airport. There were only a few times where I started a flight at a controlled airport, and I wasn't entirely aware of a specific departure clearance procedure and that it was different depending on the surrounding airspace. My training was sufficient for the airports around me, but I wasn't entirely prepared for larger airports, which I guess I really didn't need to be flying around rural Ohio. Once I began flying out of a controlled airport, I had to learn the proper procedure for departing VFR. The Class Charlie around Savannah requires a few more steps than the Class Delta around Muncie, Indiana. Shout out to the restaurant there. It was unfortunately being remodeled when I did my long solo cross country back in the day. I never got to go there. Heard it was great. Departing VFR from a Class Delta airport is very simple. Class Delta airspace is simple in and of itself. It only has a radius of about 5 nautical miles. It doesn't handle super large volumes of traffic, and it's a non-radar environment, which means that they don't necessarily have the capability to track you in and out of the airspace. This can all be handled generally by a single controller in the tower. Once you are ready to taxi with engines running and all those checklists completed, you would first contact ground for a taxi clearance, then on to tower for a takeoff clearance, and that's pretty much it. If you need to go further, you would contact the nearest controlling agency once you depart the Class Delta. Departing from a Class Charlie airport adds another layer of complexity and clearance. A takeoff clearance from tower isn't enough anymore due to the presence of the surrounding airspace. Class Charlie airspace is larger with a shelf that extends out to about 10 nautical miles. Class Charlie airspace also handles a lot more traffic, and it's a radar environment, which requires an area controller to sequence aircraft into and out of the airspace. In order to depart VFR from an airport in Class Charlie airspace, you must get clearance into that airspace. This is where clearance delivery comes in. At a Class Charlie airport, your first call is to clearance delivery. They will input your flight plan into their system and assign you a unique squawk code. After your clearance, it's on to ground for taxi, tower for takeoff, and then a departure controller once in the air. The departure controller, using your squawk code, will track you through and out of the airspace. Class Bravo airspace is much larger, busier, and more complex than Class Charlie airspace. However, departing VFR from Class Bravo is the same as Class Charlie. Contact clearance first, then ground for taxi, tower for takeoff, and a departure controller for sequencing out of the airspace. Departing VFR from a controlled airport may seem really complicated, but it's not so bad once you understand what's required. My best advice is just know what airspace is surrounding your airport. The chart supplement or NOTAMs can help you if there are any special procedures for departing that airport. And if you make a mistake, air traffic control will be sure to point you in the right direction. If you have any questions, leave them below. Leave a like on this video and share with pilots who may have never departed from a controlled airport. Subscribe to my channel and check out another video while you're there. Thanks so much for watching, fly safe, and never stop learning.